Prepare to get gas because it's time for the Week in Gear. This week we've got collaborations, signature guitars, tiny amps pretending to be big amps, and a pedal that basically turns your guitar into a cloud of digital atoms. It is a weird one, and I love it. This episode is sponsored by Peavey. More about them in a bit. Actually, before we dive in, cue the sad music please, Victor. This is the last episode of the Week in Gear that will be recorded in this studio. There is a big change coming to the channel and I had to have a cut-off point somewhere, and this is it. The next episode of TWIG will be in a brand new studio with a brand new look. I really hope you like what's coming for you. It's taken a lot of work and I'm extremely excited about it. So, one last time in this room, let's kick off this week's most exciting guitar gear releases with something that came from a Japanese rabbit hole, went through Jack White's brain and landed firmly on Josh Heath-Scott's desk. What do you get when Jack White finds a weird Japanese delay online, mails it to JHS and says, "Can you make this foot friendly?" You get the Troika, a delay pedal with sliders that you can literally kick on stage. Inside, it's actually a full-on studio tool hiding in a guitar pedal. You've got a proper transformer-loaded preamp for a mic that goes from about 20 decibels to 80 decibels of gain if you really want to shout into it. There's also an instrument input, of course, in that combination input, so guitar one moment, vocals the next, no problem, as long as you don't mind flipping the internal dip switch. So, if you're planning on using this on vocals and guitar, you just need to get two of them. The delay itself runs from 80 milliseconds to a whole second, and those three sliders, repeats, volume, and distance, are your performance controls. All still analog dry path, and you can choose whether you keep the trails going or not after you bypass it using another internal dip switch. And because it's Jack White's, of course, the whole thing is built so you can kick the sliders around on stage without snapping anything. Now, I saw Jack White play in Anaheim at NAMM in January this year. Oh, that was a long time ago. And he was messing with something that was attached to his mic stand. And I'm pretty sure that this was it. The gig was great, he sounded phenomenal, and he used the vocal effect very creatively. And I was extremely curious about what it was that he was fiddling with, and I thought it was probably something from TC, but it isn't. It's got to have been this, the prototype, and I'm glad to have closed that open loop in my brain. Speaking of which, if you loop or run drum machines, or you just love plugging the wrong thing into the wrong port, this is going to be dangerously fun. But let's talk money. There is a limited edition yellow version, which is already sold out, but the standard black edition is coming in at 349 notes in the US. I don't know anything about outside of US. Maybe there's a conversion up there. Don't take those numbers too seriously. And no, I don't expect this to be the most popular pedal ever, but to a few musicians, this is going to open up a whole new world of creativity. Personally, I'd love to plug a kazoo into it. The gasometer marches its way up to wishlist, and I hope that I get to play with it one day. I hope, I wish. Now, Gibson have dusted off two absolute rock and roll crowbars, the Les Paul Jr. Double Cut and the Les Paul Special Double Cut. Guitars with no nonsense, no menus, and absolutely no apologies. Oh, quick thing, if this is fun for you, click the subscribe button and you'll get more of it. The double cut Les Paul Juniors and Specials were not made consistently over Gibson's long history, and they tend to show up in bursts, and then they disappear for years, and then they reappear in limited waves. And they're back, now in 2025. The Junior is exactly what it should be, a slab of mahogany, a slim taper neck that you can glide around on, a dog-ear P90 in the bridge that barks like an over-caffeinated terrier, and a wraparound bridge that adds that extra thump. The Special takes the same formula but adds a second P90 in the neck. It gives you separate controls for the tone and the volume of each pickup, and a three-way toggle so that you can justify buying the one with the extra pickup. Both guitars look wonderfully old school in vintage cherry, TV yellow, or ebony, but I'm missing the burst, like mine. My guess is they've kept them the solid colors so that the price stays the same for all models, because that takes more work and more time, and therefore more money. I totally understand Gibson going for the 60s slim taper neck here, but I am forever a fan of the 50s round shape. I love my Les Paul Jr. It is a go-to guitar whenever I want anything that's raucous and rock and roll, and this thing is just super cool. The double cut models are very welcome to the market yet again, but what about the price? I find it very hard talking about pricing for things at the moment. And yes, there will be numbers on the screen in a bit, but it's probably easier for me to compare the double cut to the single cut. And now the single cut is around 100 notes cheaper than the double cut. Or the double cut is 100 euro notes, dollars, pounds more than the single cut in the online shops that I've checked. That's a very complicated attempt to clarify things. Sorry. Right, let's get some numbers up there. The Double Cut Junior is going to set you back around 1,699 notes, and the Double Cut Special around 1,999 notes. So that's $300 more for an extra pickup and some more routing and wiring. Now, I think these new guitars are very cool, but the price just doesn't work for me. It is an indicator of where we've reached now in 2025, a point where things are really expensive, and I'm having trouble understanding it. But if you want simple, honest, plug-and-play tone, the Junior is probably your soulmate. And if you want the classic Gibson snarl, plus the ability to switch things up mid-song, the Special has you sorted. They are the kind of guitars that make you want to turn your amp up just a little bit too loud. There's no frills, there's no complication, there's just angry, harmonically rich, and slightly rude P90 goodness. The gasometer is very excited and bubbles its way up to add to cart. There are links below if you want to stare lovingly at the 3 colours available and accidentally add one to your cart. Junior or Special, choose your fighter. Now, let's have a chat about Peavey, the company whose amps have survived more teenage bands than you or I ever will. You know when one of your favourite companies go quiet for a while and then return like they've been training in the mountains? Well, that's Peavey in 2025. Peavey are back hard. They stormed into NAMM this year and dropped a whole bunch of new gear. We're talking the Decade 2 with Josh Homme, some fresh preamp pedals, which I have right here, and some reviews are on the channel already. And there's some legacy reissues, plus a whole lot more. And here's the kicker, 2025 is not just another year for Peavey, it's their 60th anniversary. That's 6 decades under the same founder ownership, Hartley Peavey. My first real tube amp was a Peavey Classic 30, and that amp taught me 2 things. 1, tubes are magical, and 2, loud is entirely subjective. Peavey make gear that lasts a long time, which is why you see it everywhere. They've got thousands of products, hundreds of patents, and legends trust their stuff. However, they're now refocusing with things like the preamp pedals, plus new amps, plus more pro audio stuff to come in 2025 and beyond. So yes, Peavey is back, and they're not just rehashing old stuff, they're innovating again, and they're bringing back some stuff from the glory days. Check the link peavey.com in the video description and hear what 60 years of Peavey passion sounds like. Back to the show. Johnny Marr wanted a Jaguar that could do all the jangly clean stuff, all the weird switching stuff, and all the I'm Johnny Marr stuff all at once. So Fender just built the exact guitar he wanted, and now you can own one too. You are looking at an older body in a very slick black nitro finish with a 65 inspired maple neck that's been shaped exactly to Marr's preference, but Fender are not saying how. Rude. The rosewood board sits at a comfy 9.5-inch radius, and the real magic is the pickup situation. You got 3 Kent Armstrong lipstick pickups wired with a 4-way blade switch instead of the regular 3-way. The 4th position gives you neck and bridge pickups in series. Very cool. There's also, of course, the upper horn slide switches, which lets you sculpt the top end and decide if you want the middle pickup off or on, or only the middle pickup. The bridge is the classic Jaguar unit, but with Mustang saddles, so it stays nice and stable, and you've still got the floating tremolo for all your shimmery chord wiggles. I'm a recent convert to Jaguars, and this one makes me very excited, as I have not enough Jaguars and nothing with lipstick pickups in it at the moment. Let's talk prices. The Johnny Marr Signature Special Jaguar is coming in at around 3,500 notes, which is a considerable amount of money for any guitar. It is an indie rock wish fulfillment in guitar form, and it doesn't hurt that it looks absolutely killer. As this is a limited edition, it is going to fly off the virtual shelves, so if you want one, make sure to check out the links below and in the first comment. Take a look at the gasometer. Oh, it's a little confused, sadly. I genuinely don't know how I feel about this guitar because I keep flip-flopping from wallet being on fire to seeing the price and then going back to borrow it. So let's settle on add to cart and please everybody and nobody. Moving on, Vox took a 60s stack, shrunk it in the wash, and accidentally made the cutest amp that I've ever seen. This is the Micro Superbeetle, the amp equivalent of a puppy dressed like a rock star. Despite being tiny, it seems surprisingly capable. If you attach it to its little matching cab, you get about 20 watts out of a 4-inch woofer and a tiny tweeter doing the sparkle work. Detach the head and it turns into a 5-watt portable amp with a rechargeable battery built right in, so you can literally take the Vox Chime anywhere. The sofa, the garden, IKEA, the hotel room where you definitely shouldn't be playing guitar. It's got clean, drive, and high gain modes. There's treble and bass and built-in reverb. It's got aux in and Bluetooth streaming so you can practice along with tracks. And there's a headphone output for nighttime noodling. And the fun thing is that the whole thing sits there like it's ready for the world's smallest Beatles concert. I played the mini Superbeetle and I reviewed it on the channel. There's a video, you can get to there by clicking that card up there, and it is such a fun amp. But it also actually sounds great, and I expect this micro version to also deliver. So if you want classic Vox tone without needing to sell your back to science, this is a fun little amp. But at around 400 notes, it is definitely a premium tiny amp. You're paying for style and portability and the novelty factor and the cuteness as much as the sound. So tell me, is this adorably overpriced or just adorable enough? Aww. If you've ever wanted to turn your guitar into a swarm of digital fireflies performing some kind of interpretive dance, ELECTRO-HARMONIX heard you. The Pico Atomic Cluster takes your signal, chops it into tiny little spectral pieces, and then rebuilds it as either glitchy rhythmic pulses or hazy ambient pads, depending on how spicy you're feeling. The Atoms knob controls how many little resonant oscillations you want buzzing around your sound. The speed knob sets how fast this whole universe refreshes, and you even get the tap tempo to sync up your chaos. There's a blend to decide how much of your real guitar tone survives the experience, and a mode switch that flips between sharp, which gives you this glitchy digital stutter, and smooth, which turns everything into a dreamy, floaty ambiance. All of that lives in EHX's tiny Pico-sized chassis, which is somehow smaller than my self-control around fuzz pedals. EHX are knocking it out of the park with these Pico pedals recently, and the best way I can describe this is that the Atomic Cluster is a Chase Bliss pedal for people on a budget. Yeah, it's coming in at a mere 130 notes, so it excites me in a way that it could be one of my favourite pedals of the year, and it doesn't cost that much to find out. I need to play it to really decide, because it also can seem like a bit of a one-trick pony, but I can absolutely hear me having fun for this and losing hours with it. And being creative. If you play ambient, post-rock, soundtrack music, or you just like making weird noises between songs, this thing is right up your Pico passage. It's the sort of pedal that immediately adds a "what the hell was that?" moment to your board. The gasometer is not quite on fire, but it's a buy it now for sure. Okay, it is time for thank yous. Thank you to the people who support this show on Patreon. They're on the screen now. Hello everybody. Thank you. Appreciate you. And these people support the show right here on YouTube. I appreciate you. Hello to you and thank you. And here's a special thanks to the top tier members. Alinta, Antonio Cruz Barreto, Buddha Blue, Boom Shakalokal, Buzzle, Dirk, Doug Paget, Riendrik Strelka, Johnny McBadminton, Kultur Matt, Mike Lute, Andrew Morgan, Gary O'Neill! Holy moly, that's 8675309. Josh Tamberg, Man Dude Bro, PQ Deads, Robin Kelly, Sarang Narayan, and Southern Panda 33. Thank you, top tier members. Now, don't forget to comment your pick of the week down there, and I will see you in the new studio next week. Bye-bye!